So this is the group members. Started with Hisyam, then Noruddin, Hafiz Bin Mat Wahap, and bin Jemat. The introduction of Hisyam. About Hisyam, the traditional 5 permission model, where read, write, and execute permissions are set in each file for the user, group, and other. Has one drawback. It can be used to define per user or per group permission. For that, we need to employ access control list (ACL). ACL is an application that allows us to graphically view and modify file ACL's permissions. ACL also an application for the genome environment. The concept. Traditional Unix permissions. Traditionally, in Unix, files have 3 kinds of permissions associated to them. Those permissions called UGO from user, group, and others allows us to set whether a user can read, write, or execute a file. Read permission allows a file to read it in a directory permits listing the directory's content. Write permission in files allow to modify their data in directories. It allows creating or deleting their file. Execution permission in files allow them to run as a program. In directories, it allows to enter them. The access will be granted or denied depending which user is accessing the file. The owner has his own permission, is a user. And group, if the user is not the owner but belongs to the group owning the file, then group permissions are applied. And others. Finally, if the user is not the owner, neither belongs to the files group, then other permissions are applied. Permissions can only be changed by the owner or by superuser. Access control list. UGO permissions are suitable for most scenarios. However, IEE POSIX workgroup was conscious that sometimes there are too limiting and defined an interface in POSIX 1003 1E draft 17 intend to manage file ACLs. The proposal was left out from the standard but is implemented in several BSD, Solaris and FreeBSD5, and GNU Linux as of version 2.6 of the ACL allows to set permissions in a per user or per group fashion. For instance, it is not feasible in UGO permissions to have 2 users, Bob and Alice, where Bob can only read, Alice can read and write, and no other user can access the file. Extend user attribute. In the process of adding ACL support for GNU and Linux, developers decide to abstract them away in what were named extend attributes. These extend attributes are bits of additional information linked to file. They are used, for instance, to implement ACL or for storing security labels in Linux. Extend user attribute brings to user the possibility of storing arbitrary chunks of data in their file. For instance, one could create a revision attribute that would store the date of the last revision. This is the editing ACLs of the modifying ACLs. First, open a file. Before you can view or edit the ACL of file, you need to open it in ACL. Second, visualizing SEL. Instead, show SELs as a list with different icons for each kind of entry in the SEL. Third, adding an SEL entry. Add an SEL entry to grant permissions to a user or group. Fourth, editing default SEL entries. A directory may have special default entries in SEL. These entries are automatically added to new files created in the directory. 5. Permission mask. The permission mask allows to revoke permissions without changing the SEL entry. And lastly, removing an SEL entry. Remove an SEL entry to revoke special permission to a user or group. Editing extend user attributes. Extend user attributes are pairs of attributes and values that can be stored arbitrarily in files. For instance, one could store the last version of a file or a brief description. The cell allows to work with extend user attributes both in standalone operation and Nautilus property version. Adding an attribute. Can add an attribute with add. Default attribute name and value will be created. And edit them by clicking on the attribute list. Then removing an attribute. To remove an attribute, select it from the list and press remove. Lastly, the requirements. Hisyam is an application for genome environment. Hisyam needs an SEL-enabled system. Further, SEL support is given by the operating system. Nowadays, only Linux 2.6 or 2.4 with the proper patch and FreeBSD files for SEL. However, not all the file systems that can be used on those systems have support for SEL. In Linux 2.6, when writing this documentation, the following file system were SEL capable in the page. SEL must be turned on in Linux 2.6 or 2.4. Can do it setting the SEL option in /dtc/fs tab. Consult the distribution documentation. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. And now I will demonstrate how to use a tool that has been downloaded. It is ACL. So firstly, open the file, and here you can see the file that was created. So now I will open tool ICL. Okay, now firstly I will choose the file, click open. So I will choose view file and click OK. So as you can see, this is current participant. This means default participant. This is available participant. This is the list of user, and also the group that has been created by me. Okay, now this is advanced feature. You can choose the group or user. For example, I choose DDT3C. So click find. So I will choose. If I want to choose a user, for example, I choose top. define here use staple. Okay, now extended user attribute. Okay, extended user attribute is allow to associate name string to a file. You can add an attribute with add button here. For example, I type my user and value, any value here. So type 999 here. So attribute name and value will be created. So if you want to add, just click the add button here. If you want to remove, just click any attribute here and click button remove. Okay, now I will show you how to manage the privilege of the file view.txt file. Firstly, I will show you how to add the new user. For example, I choose mark as a new user and click add participant to ACL. So mark this will be a new user. If I want to add a new group, just click any group here and add participant to ACL. Okay, as you can see, new group is the current participant in ACL. If you want to remove, just click the remove here, remove mark. If you want to remove group, just click also remove. As you can see, this is current participant in ACL. This means we cannot remove. As you can see, if I click here, the button remove cannot be used. Also group and order. Okay, now let's say I unclick the user is unread. So here you can see view X logo here. I will open the file. Okay, here you can see could not open the file, so this means I cannot read the file. Okay, if I click the read and unclick the right, so the logo here will show. Okay, I will open. Okay, I can read it. So let's say I edit the file. So here the save button cannot be used, and if I want to close, let's say I click the save as here. Okay, button save, click button save, and it will show the file is read only. So this means the user only can read only, cannot be edit. So if let's say I click the execute here and unclick the read, add a group, and let's say I will click the properties, add the file, click the permission. Okay, as you can see, the group access no read, only write. Okay, let's say I click order right here, and the user only can read. Okay, and I will click the properties here, click the permission. Okay, here the owner me only can read, and then group cannot read, only can write, and other can read and write. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you for watching. Bye.